is wonderful. We on the beach and the colors is vivid. I want it, I get it. You dream it, I live it. I'm on Ethereum, going city to city. Immutable metaverse, my crypto been busy. Not fungible, wonderful. We see it clearly. We on the route to the bag. I run it up with my bromies. Doing the digital dash, gotta get guacamole. We on the blockchain where they cannot control me. We on the blockchain, written in brand new code. I'm chained to the block, on the way to the guap. NFTs too hot. Secret rare price at a lot, yeah. Crypto been ready to pop, yeah. Desert root chicks at a lot, yeah. I work to work, I don't stop, yeah. Gotta invest in yourself, go up, keep on learning. I got a doubt for my wealth, crypto new control. We turning up with the game, celebrate all emotion. Like a mutant name, off of that serum potion. We on the route to the bag, I run it up with my bromies. Doing the digital dash, gotta get guacamole. We on the blockchain where they cannot control me. We on the blockchain, written in brand new coding.
What is going on, Omi homies and Omets and new people to the channel here? Welcome to the stream. Today we'll be talking about a little bit of information regarding this whole Web2 versus Web3 kind of debacle. All right. The community is kind of split at the moment, and it seems as if people are trying to prioritize one section or one, community over the other in the VeVe app. So that's kind of what's going on. And really, it's actually a thing that's been going on for years in the wider crypto and NFT space. So this isn't something that is necessarily new. It's more relevant because you do have a platform like the VeVe app, for example, that is using both types of technologies to achieve their, their vision. So a lot of people get to talking about different things here in the community and really kind of start picking sides, and you don't really see a lot of people in the middle. And to me, that is problematic because what's going to happen is you don't have anybody in the middle. It's very polarizing, and you don't have anybody in the middle to educate and bridge both communities. And what's happening right now is through VeVe's different types of decisions that they made just recently with OTC and the Dumbo poster, is that it has caused people to pick a side, which is very unfortunate because it appears as if some people can't have their own opinion without somebody just chiming in and saying, you know what, maybe you're right, and moving forward. But instead, it seems like people are getting polarized by these different decisions that are stemming from VeVe's team, which shouldn't necessarily dictate how we think as a community. Instead, we should be focusing on growing the community as a whole. And as it appears, the community is actually getting smaller because you're seeing less YouTubers actually cover VeVe who stem from the crypto and NFT space to begin with. So we're going to talk a little bit about these topics today, and I hope you are going to tune in for the very end. And we're going to talk about some bullet points I created here. And of course, we'll talk about some topics here on the fly. And again, I've even approached this probably from the wrong angle as well myself. So I'm personally guilty of kind of picking a side, so to speak, as well. So not to say I am perfect, because we all are learning in this space. And I think that admitting something like that is important for not only me, but you as well, maybe in the community, and maybe it helps you grow and learn in the space as well. So without further ado, let's jump into it. I know that was a lot, but I wanted to provide a little bit of context of what's been going on in the VeVe space and what I expect here in the future. So we're going to dive into it. We're going to display some information, some examples here, VeVe's team actually tweeting about some things. We're going to talk about some polls that people have been bringing up as well. And we're going to be talking about the Ecomi token today. So we have a couple of members in chat. Shout out to SoCal Omi Homie and Slider2333. for being channel members here on the channel. This truly helps support the channel. And if you consider joining or supporting the channel in a paid way, it's literally less like $1, or you could choose one of the other membership tiers, as it really helps support streams and content like this and get the word out about growing, platforms like VeVe, for example. So George 17, good morning. George J Storm Town 13, what? Morning, everybody. It's title of video meaning that users that believe we've been lied to and we went to Web3 like promised are wrong. So and for all you thanks. I'm not sure what unsubscribe. Unfollow. What's up, Kyle? What's going on? Alex and Crypto, another channel member. Joel, let me maybe just talk a little bit here. I'm not really sure what you're talking about there. I don't want to focus too much on that comment or I'll get distracted. So without further ado, let's just dive into it. All right. So first up, we have this poll here. This is kind of the latest poll, and this is from Mitch, the lead product dev. I believe his title is at VeVe. This is not financial advice. Great chatter regarding VeVe Web3, given the history, frustrations are, dare I say, warranted. In my opinion, and with due respect, Web3 goodness should be systematically and methodically leveraged to affect mutual benefits for VeVe and all parties. Luckily, a marathon, not a sprint. Discuss. So obviously, like, everybody's going to vote. Everybody's on the same page because this one's a little bit derogatory. So polls. Out of the gates, let's talk about polls. All right, polls, it all depends how it comes down to the wording of it. That's how people typically just vote right off the top of their brain. So, of course, a lot of people are just going to vote this one, including myself, because I've been saying that this has been a marathon for over 2 years. Now, this is a very, very long marathon, to say the very least, as there is a lot of aggravated people in the VeVe community. And one of the things with that is a lot of people don't know how to handle aggravated people in the community. So instead of just, maybe acknowledging those aggravated people tend to just argue with aggravated people, and that makes them even more aggravated. So this is one of those problematic things I see in the community time and time again. And really, I don't think the VeVe team is actually even aware of this, but it is happening, and it's probably going to perpetuate itself the more that the team and the community is unaware. Hopefully this sheds a little bit of light on that situation, as where I've worked in the insurance industry for 5 or 6, really like 6 or 7 years, and was almost cussed out every single day because what I did is I served the high risk community, which, people yelled at me, screamed at me because their rates were too high. But at the end of the call and the meeting, I was able to calm them down and resolve the situation, and they would actually apologize to me for being so aggravated. So I think we need more people like that in the community that can actually be a bridge and just acknowledge people that are upset, angry, that maybe the team hasn't moved as quick as we thought. And that has been the agreement among even OGs and people in the community, whether you're on one side or the other. I think that's a pretty common, piece of knowledge we all can kind of come to a conclusion and agreement on, that the team has been very slow in implementing these features. So that being said, moving on to the next poll, this one, the latest Sergio poll. Sergio likes to do polls, and he typically does fun polls, and he's been doing more serious polls lately. So we're going to take a look at that. It says poll of 1,400 participants. The majority, 55%, say VeVe is either a Web3 company or somewhere in the middle. We're not going to get into his kind of synopsis of like why that would be. We're just going to do it straight unbiased, because I think that's how things should be approached. So it says, is VeVe a Web3 company? A lot of people said no. So 45% of people do not think VeVe is a Web3 company. And a lot of people think somewhere in the middle, with the 36% and 19%, which is the very least amount, say yes. So this is important to kind of point a couple of points out here, is that a lot of people in the Web3 crypto space will obviously vote no. And the reason why is because if the NFTs are not truly, in terms of, let's say, interoperable at the wallet level, like self-custody, then that's going to be important for somebody that is a Web3 native or crypto user, or as some people call a degen, which is somewhat of a, I wouldn't say newer term, but it is thrown around there in almost a derogatory manner now in the VeVe space, and I don't necessarily like that. But with all that being, with all that aside, a lot of people will vote no on that if they're in the Web3 space. Now, even the Web2 space, same kind of issue there. I think a lot of people will want that self-custody, and it's interesting that this is actually no. I actually would assume that a lot more people would have voted for somewhere in the middle, and that might have won. But this is kind of interesting. Now, polls, again, depending on how they're worded and depending on the audience, can shift both ways. Now, if Sam Ellis ran this poll, it might look a little different. And we'll get to the next poll as well. So this one, though, shout out to Sergio. I love you, Sergio, but this is where I kind of disagree. It says VeVe needs to prioritize mainstream collectors, not crypto degens. So crypto degens is synonymous with crypto, but what about the NFT collectors, and what about the NFT and Web3 people? There is a massive community like Web3 gaming, then you have the NFT collectors, then you have, NFT degens, and then you have people that like to flip in the NFT space. So you do actually have a very large, significant community in the NFT space, and that generates millions and millions and really yearly billions of dollars in the NFT space in the macro. It is much larger and much bigger than the VeVe community. And so that's important to notate that right off the bat, because not only that, crypto people love to look at NFTs as well. And sometimes when you have all these crypto whales, it's good to have crypto whales that are going to come into the ecosystem and decide maybe that they want to partake in collecting in VeVe. And maybe they want to hedge a little bit of their risk in some of these collectibles. And that is okay. So we shouldn't paint these crypto people into a corner, in my opinion. I do see a problem, and I think it's problematic when we do so in the community. So VeVe needs to prioritize mainstream collectors, not crypto degens. Again, mainstream collectors is subjective. It could mean a lot of different things. And again, mainstream collecting isn't really that big. It's not as mainstream as people think. You have eBay, and yes, there's a lot of money. Yes, there's a lot of Disney collectors, and yes. But at the end of the day, people are going to have to be educated on the process of why owning a digital collectible is important in the first place, and why would they want to do that when they could just collect the real thing? So there needs to be an education process that needs to be had. So that is important for me. So I did respond to this one because, again, I don't necessarily agree with that. Because I have been in marketing for over 11, 12, almost 13 years now. I guess I've been saying I've been in marketing for 10 years, and I've really been in marketing for like 11 or 12 at this point. And I continue to be in marketing. I've worked for Illuvium, helping raise over $72 million in a land sale. So hopefully I would know what I'm talking about to a little bit, right? And I worked, I basically came up from the Web2 space in marketing, starting from scratch, search engine optimization. So I understand Web2 very well. And I researched it. I would research case studies every day for fun. And that's the kind of effort I put into Web2 marketing. So I do know a little bit of where I'm coming from. So it says here, what I said is, Sergio, we'll skip that part. I just want to get to the notating part. Notating that Web3 and crypto folks often have significant financial resources and contribute greatly to the success of VeVe like Web3 crypto YouTubers. Instead of establishing a priority, perhaps we could consider catering to different audience segments. So in marketing, you use platforms like Facebook and Meta, and you can advertise on those platforms. What you do as a marketer is you segment those audiences down to different audiences. So VeVe, hopefully on the back end, is collecting this data from the app, and they're able or should be able to segment different audiences. If they're not able to, maybe they should look at that. Now, going back to the advertising, Facebook's not the only platform that lets you segment audiences. Google does too, and so does Twitter and beyond. And then you have affinity audiences, so you can actually advertise to people that you are trying to reach. So this is vitally important. You can also do this in PR by just segmenting the different types of media outlets into different groups. I did this very commonly in Web 2 and in Web 3. So again, you can definitely segment this out as much as you need. And I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people that chime in on these issues have zero experience in marketing and have run $0 in advertising spend, which I have ran over 6 figures plus in advertising for over, a handful of businesses. So we'll just keep it at that. But I've had a long list of clients that I did ads for. All right. So moving on past that point, instead of establishing a priority, perhaps we could consider catering to different audience segments. Crypto YouTubers have undoubtedly driven substantial revenue to VeVe through their coverage, bringing in millions and millions of dollars. So I just want to stop there. And yes, this is exactly true. A matter of fact, you have some of the OGs in the space that first covered Ecomi and VeVe that were specifically in the crypto space. And pretty much every OG in the VeVe community has came from the crypto space, bringing in tons of attention, users, and network effect. So all those original users have went and told their fam and so on. So the network effect cannot be ignored here. The crypto YouTubers and the NFT and Web3 YouTubers have brought in millions and millions and millions of dollars, and this should not go ignored. So that's why it's important to not just ignore one audience or one group of people, because a lot of the success has come from the Web3 space. So I just wanted to point that out because, again, you do have channels like, I don't know, Paul Barron, who have covered VeVe as well with a significant audience. And I just wanted to point out too that crypto and NFT and Web3 influencers, the cost per million to actually advertise on those channels is significantly higher than Web2 channels, meaning that the value of a crypto and Web3 channel is much higher than the value of a non-Web3 channel, because the people who watch Web3 are more financially astute and stable, or not stable, but typically have higher incomes and more disposable income. And maybe that's not always true, but that's kind of just a general rule of thumb. So just wanted to point that out as well. And again, it's not a perfect science, but it can be like construed as that. So anyways, without kind of splitting hairs on that, we'll move on. While the future is certainly geared toward mainstream adoption, it is essential for people to grasp the significance of digital ownership and understand the value of digital collectibles. This understanding may take some time. So again, I agree with Sergio to a point that I've always brought up this point that yes, mainstream is where we need to go. That's kind of the vision. That's the vision of really all Web3 companies and all Web3 brands. So this is not something that everybody wants to be degen, DeFi, and super hard to use. As a matter of fact, we're seeing Immutable X implement the IMX passport that allows gamers to easily be onboarded into IMX, which uses Web3 technology, right? And we have Coinbase using a wallet as a service that just came out. So what they're doing is they're basically making it easier to onboard mainstream users, again, with just a simple username and password. This is vitally important to understand because the future isn't Web 2, the future is Web 3. And you're going to make it easier for mainstream users to really use Web3 technologies. This is where things are going. We're not going in reverse. We are going actually forward and progressing more into the Web3 space. This is important to understand because that's where, in my opinion, where the future is going. It's not necessarily that, we're going backwards and we need to cater to people who don't know how to use Web3 technology. It's that Web3 has to make it easier for average users to use Web3, and that's the solution, not the other way around, right? So I think this is where things are going. I've been covering it a lot on my channel, IMX Passport, and the Coinbase wallet as a service. And I've been in tons and tons of spaces outside of VeVe promoting the idea, or basically telling the idea that Web3 just needs to make the onboarding experience much easier. That's the key, right? Not that we need to basically make it, we need to target some group of people or not. The key is just having those easier onboarding processes. That's what's important. So again, we are on, VeVe is on Immutable X. They are literally in proximity to Web3 games that have Web3 ideologies, and they even sell land in their games. So VeVe is also supposed to sell land. I don't know if they're going to go back on that, but long ago, in the original days that VeVe had, mentioned that they were going to sell land. So that is another Web3 ideology. So again, it's going to be education that takes time. Why somebody in the mainstream world would want to even own land? Again, you would have to probably sell land to people that already understand Web3 ideologies. Again, so this could take some time for mainstream users to really understand the value of digital ownership. And we have good people in the community right now that are very good at explaining this type of ideology. Comics and Crypto, Sleep in Comics, and several others that are just like those collectors that can reach mainstream users. The other problem, though, is that we don't want to push aside Web3 users and crypto users and NFT users who are actually going to educate Web2 or mainstream users into platforms like VeVe. And I do see somewhat of a brain drain in the community because it seems like it's getting a little bit weird in the community where people are arguing for almost these Web2 ideologies, comparing VeVe to a bank, when this absolutely shuts down Web3 users. This is important because you're brain draining the educators of Web3 out of the VeVe platform, and they're going to go off and do their own thing. So this is why it's important to acknowledge that and understand that some of these examples we're using are not the best. So that's another point there. So again, at the last I said is here, I just wanted to share my perspective and the hopes of fostering unity in the community. That's kind of the tweet and my points on that in a nutshell. So I just wanted to get that off my chest here and just go over a few points that I think really matter in the community, and hopefully that bridges your thoughts, maybe connects the dots, and maybe you're kind of hopefully understanding a little bit about what's going on and how we can actually move forward in this community. Again, we all know it's going to take time for VeVe to roll out some features and things like that. They're probably behind, and this is kind of the year of delivery, and VeVeverse is around the corner as well. So that is actually pretty exciting, and getting beta access to that would be awesome. But it doesn't go without saying that, that the community is getting kind of polarizing, right? And I think we need to take a step back and realize we're doing more damage than good at this moment, and that there needs to be people more in the middle, or people that understand both sides and can really bridge the community. And you don't want to basically push away the educators in the space. And you also don't want to use bad examples of banks when banks are actually collapsing at the moment. So again, it's just having knowledge in the space. And it's okay if you're still new. I mean, people, in my opinion, that are, in VeVe and they've been onboarded to NFTs and VeVe, I don't necessarily see them as an expert, to be honest, because on average, there's books about this, that it takes over 5 years to be considered an expert. And guess what? There's not a lot of people in the VeVe community that have been in crypto Web3 for over 5 years. There just isn't that many. There's probably a very finite, very small amount of people. And it's important that you don't push those types of people away, because they understand and, again, help educate people to use digital collectibles, or to own them rather, right? And you want people in the community that are very good at that to educate people why collecting digital assets and digital collectibles are important, or digital collectibles rather. So, because the significance of that is important, right? Because the metaverse is being built. We're watching it. Even AI is being implemented in some of these builders and tools and things like that. So the future is very bright for metaverse and for companies that are building in this space. So again, it's important to realize we need to kind of bring it all together here and take a step back, maybe touch a little grass and things like that. So anyways, let me get to chat. I know we have a lot to talk about there on that end. The Dumbo poster, I don't know if I really need to bring this part up, other than that this poll, again, I think if this was ran by, let's say, Sam Ellis, and Sam Ellis would have worded this different, I would imagine as well, we would have got a very much different answer, in my opinion. And this poll came out, I believe, like maybe the next day or two or something like that, where a lot of people aren't really understanding what was going on with the Dumbo poster. A lot of people got their information from Spaces. And again, People using kind of polls as like a "see, I told you so" is not a good look. Okay, and I know David, you kind of was like, let's take a chill pill. I don't know if he's hyping up some other IP, and I just don't know what's going on in terms of the chill pill thing. I don't know if that's just a funny thing. I think it's funny, to be honest. Like, I don't get offended by anything, but using polls as a source of truth is really not good, because it all comes down to audience and it all comes down to the wording. So I could do a poll similar to this, word it differently, and probably get a different result. And Sam Ellis or somebody, not even in our community would get a far radically different result than Sergio. So again, polls, you got to be careful. Even in, like, obviously politics, I never like pay attention to polls in politics, because I understand it's a sample size and they're usually skewed. So it's important to know that. I run polls here on the channel, in the chat, just to see what you guys are thinking, and that's engagement. It's fun, and just to get an idea of sample size, but not to use it as a source of truth, right? And I think that's important, because polls can be used to really split and divide versus unify. So it's cool to see, though, the polls on like different comics and collectibles, like, hey, which collectible do you like out of these four? Those are really fun. I really love those polls, and I think they're fun. And I think we should really stick to those types instead of using like, super, I don't know, divisive type of polls, right? So anyways, that's my thought on that. Now the Ecomi token, again, the original reason why, VeVe's popped off, where they got their funding, is from the crypto space as well. And crypto isn't going away. It's a $1 trillion market cap in total. So if we go here, we can go to the, actually, I don't know if, we'll go by market cap here, or let's see, let me scroll down. Maybe we'll go to the global chart. Total crypto market cap. The global cryptocurrency market cap is $1.24 trillion. So it is a massive market, massive market. So it's important not to just ignore this space, and, and have strategies for both, is what I'm trying to get at. Is, yes, we do want to go at, mainstream. Absolutely. That's the vision for everything. That's a vision for a lot of the Ethereum platforms, a lot of the games that are building on IMX. If you look at what Robbie is saying from Immutable X, we'll actually just go type this in. As you guys know, I've been covering Immutable X from the very, very beginning. I was literally the only VeVe person covering IMX, other than Non-Fungible Wonderful, basically. But still, I was the first one in the community covering Immutable X, basically. And they are going after gamers, mainstream gamers. That's their whole marketing angle. So let's take a look at what Robbie said here. By combining the #1 Web3 gaming platform, currently serving hundreds of gaming studios and millions of players, with Polygon's best-in-class ZK EVM technology, we're building an Ethereum-centric gaming ecosystem that is poised to take Web3 mainstream and bring digital ownership to millions of people around the world. So again, VeVe's vision is aligning with Immutable X's, but it's using Web3 technology. So again, you need people that know Web3 to be in the community, and not to prioritize one or the other, because Web3 is going mainstream, whether you like it or not, in my opinion. I think it is. I think Web3 is going mainstream. We're seeing Epic Games implement it into their marketplace. We're seeing Unity implement it into their engine. And we'll probably see one day Unreal Engine implement plugins and tools. And I think they already do at this point. I'm not really sure, because I'm not an expert on Unreal Engine, but I've heard that you can connect different things in their, I guess in their software. I don't know. Let me get to chat. My Collectibles, let's go, baby. My Collectibles in the chat. So that's really all I wanted to say in this stream, is just like kind of just take a step back and realize where we're at. We're still seeing a lot of things being built. We're still seeing, for example, Immutable was at Game Developer Conference promoting, their new ZK EVM partnership with Polygon, which is important for game developers to use that type of tech stack to, integrate their games into Web3, making it much, much more easier to develop a game in Web3 than ever before. So stuff like this is important because, again, this is kind of the trajectory, is we're going like this, but we're also seeing the technology that makes everything easy go like this too. But it's just not like a parabolic, like, developing overnight, right? It's like we're seeing these platforms build brick by brick the solutions to make it easier for developers, even Coinbase with their wallet as a service. And it's just going to take brick by brick. And we are just, watching it being built. And I know that the NFTs on VeVe, we're getting them. They're there. You can collect them. You don't have to collect them. It's up to you. But the trajectory is kind of just going like this, right? And it's like a chart. If you zoom in, let's take a look at Bitcoin, for example. The Bitcoin chart didn't always if you zoom in, it looks like it's going down. But if you zoom out, it looks like it's just going like this. Like it's just slowly going up. And I think that's kind of where like people's minds are, is they're zoomed in like this, like, oh my gosh, like look at this dip. But if you take a second and zoom all the way out, you can see that like, oh, Bitcoin's actually been consistently, like if you drew an average line through that price movement right there, it would look like this, right? And I think that's where people need to kind of zoom out and realize like this is where we're at right now in the times. This is what's going on in the macro. Mutable X still working with Polygon, ZK EVM still launching, the games are still being built. And this is where Web3 is going. It's going like this, right? And so that's why I think that it's important that we kind of come together, I guess, in the community and not really, I don't know, I guess a good way to put it, I've already said it. So I guess I'm kind of out of kind of my points there, but just wanted to just kind of go over a few of those points here in the community. But I was going to mention the whole reason why I brought up Immutable X is because VeVe is in proximity of all these games, and I do think games have one of the highest potentials to reach mainstream in terms of like all the different things that we have in Web3 and crypto. That games actually could be the number one driver of mainstream adoption because everybody loves games. Everybody's grown up with games their whole life: Atari, Sega, Xbox, PlayStation, PS2, 3, 4, 5, and VR now. And then we have AR very soon. That's going to be probably in this form of like glasses, and they'll have games on those too. We see Tilt 5 with their augmented reality boards. And this is where I think the trajectory is going. And you even see headset makers like HTC already implement Polygon into their headsets and their metaverse. And then we see Ready Player Me. They have a Web3 integration with avatars. And again, it's about making it easy for mainstream users to own NFTs and own digital collectibles. And that's where I see things transpiring and going. And we see BMW, they integrated Ready Player Me into their cars, their smart cars. So again, we're just watching things being built slowly but surely, and that's where I see things where we're kind of at right now. AR is exciting, says VeVe Arcade. What's going on, VeVe Arcade? All right, so I don't have too much time to kind of get into a lot of the comments today, but there's not a lot of comments, but I do appreciate everybody for being here. I just wanted to kind of like get in. I see standard view will progress into Web3 space as quickly as they can, hold and as they can handhold the big IP and non-crypto consumer. They need to focus on marketing to the masses, educating them. So I don't know about that. Marketing to the masses when NFTs are really not seen in a good light right now, I don't know if is a good idea. I think it's good to stick with what your bread and butter is and really improve on that. And then when the bull run comes back and people are starting to understand NFTs, you're going to have, hopefully we have educators in the VeVe space that are able to say, this is why you want to own a digital collectible. And shout out to My Collectibles, another Web3, another good channel here in the space. And that is super positive all the time and does a good job of that. We just need to have our educators be there, be ready for that when mainstream comes, and hopefully we'll have some interoperability and some, a lot of these features rolled out by then. And I think it would be good to have all these features really dialed in by the time we get to that mainstream marketing. Right now, I'm okay with them building the features in. Again, Mitch is new. I said time and time again since the beginning of the year that this is kind of the year of delivery for me personally. Just waiting for VeVe to deliver, and it seems like they overshot Q1. I kind of predicted that. No big deal. VeVe beta is coming out, so I'm really interested to see where that goes. So again, I think it'd be good if they have like the sticky VeVe-verse experience ready to go for mainstream users, and it's onboarding them and it's into entire almost like entertainment type of thing. Once the VeVe-verse rolls out, and depending on how they roll it out, and if there's more experiences then, and what we can do in the VeVe-verse, so it all kind of depends on that. So I don't want to, I guess, get too far into the woods on that, but educating them. So now that's important, right? The educating them is very important. Give them a good experience in the app, get comfortable, then take the next step forward to Web3. Yeah, I think for the mainstream user, what's going to be important is we have just a lot of collectibles on the app and a lot of different kinds of collectibles on the app, but you have something like the VeVe-verse where you can showcase them, and I think that's going to be really important. We have the showroom, but it's kind of siloed in there. But I think when you have something more sticky like the VeVe-verse, I think that's where things get interesting for me and like the way I see it, I guess. And I think that's where people get comfortable. It's like, oh, okay, now I can wrap my head around this idea of owning a digital collectible, and I can display it somewhere, invite my friends, they can be over, and we can all be chatting in the same room. So I think that's where things get really interesting. Some banks will benefit from regional banks collapse. See, dry banks, they will absorb their customers. Yeah, I just don't see VeVe as like a bank, I just don't. I think it'd be more, I would compare VeVe more to like a Coinbase, but Coinbase didn't have the brightest day the other day, so I didn't want to mention that. But I do throw out a Coinbase as an example because they went through the same stuff as VeVe. They went through, not your keys, not your wallet, or not your crypto. That was a whole big thing back in like 2017, 2018. When the Coinbase app was getting so much traffic that they had to go offline. People were panicking because they thought Coinbase was rugging them, but it was really the servers were just so overloaded for so much traffic. And I see some of the same issues that VeVe has. I think long-term VeVe is going to be kind of in the same position where Coinbase is, where they're, supporting Web3 initiatives and projects. And I don't even know if that news was really true the other day, but it'd be interesting. I mean, there's always spinning going around in the space. People are always trying to garner that clickbait attention in the space. So I didn't follow up with that, but it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But again, I thought that was a better example using than the bank example because, for obvious reasons. All right. You're a great ambassador to Web3. Hey, appreciate that, JStorm. Thank you so much, man. I thought Web3 and VeVe is a per IP agreement, perhaps on the specific characters. Sure, we don't want off. So that's another thing I don't know, right? Because I think we're early in terms of like legal and regulatory that if it comes out, and so I don't know why I'm still hovering over this. Let's go to this screen right here. Because I think that NBA Top Shots, for example, they're under a kind of a different lawsuit, right? It's a different thing, but it's kind of close. It's kind of close to home a little bit. Is that the judge had said that they're taking a look at the case because NBA Top Shots the NFTs are tied to the success of like Dapper and things like that. But if the case goes through, NBA Top Shots doesn't win or settles, we could see kind of things stem from that platforms may have to, kind of make things interoperable. And at that point, if it's like the law or some kind of regulatory standard or something like that, then we may see brands have to do that, right? So that's where the space might actually go, but it all depends because it's weird because with some of these apps, platforms, and blockchains, you can't just easily say like, oh, I'm interoperable all of a sudden with the entirety of the blockchain. You don't have like these bridges, right? Currently, I mean, there's some bridges out there right now, but it's not like at an advanced level. And there's a lot of tech discussion around that. and it can be very confusing to even get into that discussion. So we won't really talk about that unless, we have somebody in the community that wants to come onto the channel, talk about bridges, talk about swaps, talk about things like that. Then I think that would be maybe a good discussion there. But I don't think there's going to be much interest in that because people don't really understand that part of it. But I do think that, you're right. It definitely is a IP agreement, I'm sure. Or I don't know. We don't really know unless we actually worked for VeVe or sign those contracts at the end of the day. But it is interesting to talk about it. But again, it's kind of more that speculation thing. We can always kind of piece together the dots and the clues. But again, it's hard to say. The problem is VeVe gave the community too much influence and input too quickly. Now they just must rip off the Band-Aid to rid themselves of the big egos. And well, I think you get that from both sides a little bit, to be honest. I think that I'm okay with VeVe just ripping off Band-Aids. I don't mind it at all. It's from the marketing perspective is where I come from and can provide expertise in that area because, again, I have a track record. I can have a rap sheet showing what I've done, and I can speak from my experiences and my opinion. None of this is financial advice, of course, but that's a good point. I mean, yes, there is out there. You get it from all different angles, all different sides. And, people are just kind of launching incendiary tweets out there and without really putting too much thought into it, a lot of people just don't have experience in kind of what they're backing in terms of what they're saying. So I think we just need to calm down, take a step back, and realize where everything is in the macro. Because there's points on both sides. Honestly, there's really good points on both sides. But if you're just like super polarized to one side or the other, you're just going to miss it completely, right? You're just going to completely miss that point and say, oh, that point's garbage, and try to argue your point. And it's just too much back and forth, and people aren't really seeing each other's good points. I'm like, there's good ideas coming from all the sides. It's just you got to be able to see them and be in the right headspace to see both sides, right? Let's go. AR is so exciting. You want to know haptic feedback? Oh, yeah, haptic feedback. So I've been seeing there's a really good channel in AR. Oh, gosh, what is that channel? He got his channel has blown up big time this past year. And he's more of a VR type guy. I think it's like VR. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, Thrill Seeker. So Thrill Seeker covers a lot of these topics. So let's go ahead and pop on over there. All right, so this is Thrill Seeker. He covers VR quite a bit and like all the haptic suits and all that cool stuff. So that's a good channel to follow. That's one of the channels that I follow personally to keep up to date with VR and all the cool technology like that over there. Have a good day, bro. Says VeVe Arcade. Hey, appreciate you. Like the video. He says, everybody, hey, thank you. Yes, free ways. We do need educators in the space. We need educators. So if you like Web3 educators, then I would appreciate a thumbs up. For the development of the app and interoperability, that'd be a lot. Yeah, I think that would be a lot too. It'll be interesting. Yeah. And when we say interoperability as well, I've said this a lot here on my channel. Is there's different types of interoperability, right? NVIDIA uses interoperability in terms of their assets being able to be used in either different editors or different metaverse experiences or different types of experiences and, I guess like games, if you will. So there's different levels, right? And that just means the actual Web2 digital asset is being able to be moved from experience to another experience, whereas Web3 interoperability, people kind of make that synonymous with you can connect your MetaMask wallet and be able to display your NFT in different Web3 experiences. Then there's self-custody, which allows people to self-store and keep their assets in their own wallets. So that's kind of like the two differences there. And two different types of interoperability that I see playing out that we fully understand on the channel. If you watch the channel, you kind of know already, but I just wanted to bring that up again because I think that's where the metaverse trajectory is going to go. is interoperability between experiences on the front end. So front end being those experiences, back end being like maybe the blockchain, right? So you're a champ, Kyle. Legend. Hey, appreciate that, My Collectibles. Thank you so much. Hey, thank you for being positive all the time and being you, being genuine, and sticking to your kind of ninja way, like as Naruto would say. I respect that too. So yeah, what a legend in the community as well. For the development of the app and would be great. Already read that. Your champ. Let's see. Thank you. 100%. Everyone's right. Now gonna take time. So understand though. Has Mitch been around for long enough time though? Just as not engaged with the community as he is now. I'm not really sure. I'd love to hear from Mitch himself. I don't want to speak on Mitch's behalf by any means. I just think polls are just. I just feel weird about polls when I see them. I do get excited to see a poll because I'm like, oh, this is fun. I think polls for me are just fun. They're good sample sizes. It all kind of depends on how the wording is on some of them. I've been in marketing for a long time. And the things that I would do on ads is I would do almost the same exact wording, and I would tweak words, and I would get different results. And so I do have a lot of experience in knowing that little tweaks in wording can change the game in terms of ads and even polls. Like you can run polls on some of these platforms as like an ad, for example, or you can run a poll on a landing page that your ad came from and drive traffic that way. So there's a lot of different techniques in terms of marketing and advertising when it comes to polls. So I do know quite a bit on how that works. Again, wording is kind of key when it comes to some of these polls. It is fun. I read them. You kind of have to know that though. Like if you know that these polls are good, are like sample sizes, then polls will be fun for you. And you won't take them like super serious. Like this is the word, this is the law, right? You know what I mean? So anyways, a little spiel on that. Building your Web3 foundation is so important right now, slowly and surely. 100%. For sure. Because at the end of the day, a year or 2 or 3 from now, when let's say like mainstream's ready to just really take a bite out of all of this that we're already excited about, it's going to be important for people to be there and be ready for that. The community kind of be ready and primed and, battle tested, battle hardened where we're at, right? And be able to educate them like, hey, this is why it matters. Like at a core level, digital ownership, good, right? And so anyways, a little bit about that. I'm going to create a place for the community to play games and win prizes. Let's go. When the mainstream comes in, we'll need entertainment and fun spaces. 100%. I love that, man. I love that. Super valuable. I like the out of everything. That's one of the most important things that I think that we should always step back and realize fun. Like what's fun in the space, right? How can we have fun? And I think that's key. Whether it's entertainment, you're making somebody laugh, you're a positive person, you put on a stream, you're doing art, you're providing a cool, VeVe home, cool apartment experience for people to come in and have fun. Like all those things matter, right? So fun at the end of the day, very, very valuable to have people like VeVe Arcade in the community as well. The minute you start seeing the community like bicker and stuff like that, that's where like people like that are creative and love to have fun, they're just kind of like turned off, like, I don't know. So it's always good to like take a step back and just like, let's just have fun, guys. You the man, Kyle, you the best marketing person we have. Hey, appreciate that, man. That means a lot. It really does. I've worked so hard, in my career in Web2, all the way just building up to Web3. And it's been fun. It's been fun. I love marketing. Let's see, play to earn. Owe me to 1,000 VeVe land sale day. Yeah, I love land sale. I'm curious though to see if they're gonna still do that. Just with so much weird regulatory stuff going on, or to see how they would approach that. They kind of have a difficult job when it comes to stuff like that. The utility side of things, even it's just like a hairy regulatory environment that I definitely wouldn't want to like. Legal Dave, like he's got his hands full. Shout out to that guy. somebody buy him a beer the next time you see that guy, because I'm sure he's got his hands full. Legal Dave. See here, people totally dismissing why the OTC deal by VeVe was a big positive. When masses, whales, or institution want to buy, they need to OTC for legal reasons. VeVe needs more big OTC deals. Yeah, that's the thing I highlighted. I like brought hopefully both sides to it, like OTC, why it was bad, and also why it's good, why they could make a more, have it more of a feature for like those, know your business type customers to come in and bid those high prices. So long term, I see it as good. Mitch already actually responded to this too the other day, as he said that the OTC moving forward would be OMI gated, so that there would be like those OMI burns and things like that people have known to kind of expect, right? So again, definitely not like bearish by OTC by any means. It was kind of that initial rollout that was kind of like, it just wasn't good optics. But again, there is a silver lining there. So again, I kind of agree with that. So didn't you shield some other coins that went belly up, take down those videos? Which ones play to earn? I don't know what you're talking about if you don't provide an example, so I can provide context. I've seen him. Seen who? Anyways, I know play to earn. I don't know who you are, but I see you like little negative in the comments every time you come into the chat. I mean, I still appreciate you because I love games. I love Web3 games, but typically I see you in chat and it's always kind of just like a negative. But I still appreciate the feedback at the very least. But yeah, like in crypto back then, like of course, like some projects went belly up. Look at what's happened with FTX and how many platforms that had billions of dollars that went belly up. So it's not like, it's like, it's hard, right? The space is new. It's like the .com era, and sometimes you just don't know who's going to win. And it's always like, in my opinion, it's always the game to pick the winning horses in the race, right? Long term. Little people knew Amazon was going to blow up when it did. People that had the foresight that saw Amazon was going to blow up. Congrats to them, who they got in the stock early. They believed in the vision. But that's not always the case with some of these crypto projects or even those Web2 companies. People invested a lot of money in like the pets.coms and things like that. Or some of these, even like the businesses that did kind of survive, they didn't really survive the e-com explosion, right? So they had that initial success. Well, long term, they went belly up because they just weren't ready for the e-com era and really like the next, evolution of what Web2 was. So there's just a lot of nuances in crypto right now. It just feels like we're like watching everything being built. So that's the struggle. That's the game. I'm sure some of them probably went belly up, but I'm just documenting the journey and just sharing with you guys my thoughts. And it's not, the law, and my mind changes sometimes. And I think that's okay. I think if people's minds, if they change, good for them. It's a free, nobody should be able to dictate what people think or hold them to like a letter of the law. If you change your mind and you say you change your mind, I think that's fine. But I don't know. I don't want to get into like a philosophical ending here. So smash the like. Hey, I appreciate that. Yeah, Thrill Seeker, really good YouTuber on VR. And I think VR is like that trajectory, right? Where people are going to participate more in that. Now, I'm really bullish on AR. I've invested into AR, and I'm excited about the future of AR because the potential of just the daily life and like how it optimizes our life, like just throw some glasses on when that form factor is ready, of course, and be able to like just change your world, right? It's just like, it shows you, I don't know, you could like go to a museum or maybe a historical like place, and it just shows all these pop-ups and cool menus of like what happened here, what transpired here. For me, like I'm Native American, it's like, what if like an elder popped up right there and showed you what happened in this area, like what tribes were doing back then. I think that stuff like that's super cool for the education side of things, but also the entertainment side is really cool too, because it's like you already have games like Pokemon Go. Like, well, what about Yu-Gi-Oh? What about all these other cool IPs that, somebody posted a Jack Black, like a Mario example of just, I think it was like a TikTok filter. But imagine just wearing glasses and you're just walking through and you're seeing all this cool stuff pop up. So I think the potential for AR, there's just a lot there, and very excited about it. And I think VR will be popular as well. but it'll take a little bit longer for it to like steep and have the form factor be at like a more affordable price point and all that good stuff. But hey, appreciate that, my collectibles, by the way. Yes, free ways you can smash the old like, yield like. Living Aloha says VeVe needs to design an ODC marketplace and update the terms of service. The issue many of us had was that this one was off app OTA, which is a violation of the TOU, and others have been banned for it. Yeah, I've already talked about those points as well in a previous like video. The bad, the good, all that good stuff. So I don't want to get into the hairs we see on altcoins, DeFi Summer NFTs. Exactly. I had a great conversation with my 15-year-old daughter about her thoughts on digital glasses. She sees them as coming and gets it. 100, man. That's awesome. My 5-year-old daughter, she loves Elsa. Like I showed it to her one time when it first dropped on VeVe and I was able to get one. I showed it to her one time and like months later she remembered and was like, where's my Elsa? And I was like, oh man, she actually remembered. And this was like obviously like 2 years ago when she's like 3. And so that's when I knew like we're onto something here, that AR actually matters, right? And I think that's so cool because I was like, well, I'm like older, so maybe like, my demographic, maybe we're just like nerdy and maybe we just love it. But when a 3-year-old loves it, that's a different story. And then you have something there. So I think that's something to definitely point out for sure. That's awesome, my collectibles. The strongest 10% will survive and change the market. Yeah, I think the people that outlast the bear market will do good for sure in the future. So, I don't know how like long successful these companies will be because again, things change. You just never know sometimes. It would be cool to see content creators that loves collecting in some form. Maybe VeVeverse could help. Yeah, I agree. I'm excited about that, man. That's one thing I've been like really just jonesing for is that doing some content in the VeVeverse for sure. Really, really pumped. Hopefully, fingers crossed, beta access. If somebody from the VeVe team's watching, man, I'm crossing my fingers. I'd love to get in. It would be amazing. So, Doctor of Stuff, shout out to you, Kyle. Hey, Doctor of Stuff in the chat. What's going on, man? Shout out to you, Kyle. Love the insight and content. Hey, appreciate you, man. Always unbiased, like, always bringing it from different angles and things like that as well. And you're in. Shout out to you as well. Hey, thanks for the dono, Living Aloha. Appreciate that. Mahalo, man. Or in my language, it is wado, or in Creek, it's mado, which it means the same thing as mahalo, by the way. So anyways, thank you so much. I appreciate that. That means a lot, man. $10 goes a long way. I can buy these energy drinks and survive a day being a dad and doing these streams and working for other people as well. So love it. The young people mind certainly understand what is going on. The adults need to listen. Hey, for sure. It's key when you have young people really latching to something, they know something, right? It's like if it sparks their imagination, I think that's what it's all about. Like if you're sparking an imagination and fun, it's like they're going to be the next generation, right? And you see like, Roblox, why it's so popular is because kids love, it's entertainment, right? It's very good entertainment. And I think that's why things like platforms like Sandbox, I think will do good long-term, in my opinion, but we're still seeing that being built as well. So that's kind of going to be a long-term thing. Thoughts on Mitch Twitter poll? I kind of already brought it up, so I'm not going to bring it up again, but you can go back and kind of look at it if you want. Kyle definitely needs VeVeverse access. Yes, please. I don't know what I'll do, but I would be excited and very thankful. So, all right, well, that's it for this live. I don't want to ramble on. We talked about a lot, and I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Love everybody out there. You know what to do if you enjoy the stream. Subscribe so you don't miss any more streams and content like this, where we'll be talking about VeVe, NFTs, Web3, and digital collecting. That's what I've been doing. If you follow my OpenSea stuff, you can see a little bit of sneak peek. Not everything's going to be a win, so just do your own research, not financial advice, but we'll be talking about all of that. Be on the next lookout for the next DJ Dads podcast. I think it might be on Chris's channel next. I'm not 100%, but I think it's on his channel next podcast, and we'll talk about everything Web3. But that is all we got for today. Much appreciated, fam. Be like an NFT, be authentic, and I'll catch everybody later. Thank you, Richard and Ryan as well. And have a great day. Peace.
Rizzo roulette, black and white silhouette. Batman out of debt, Moogly money on the jet. Whoa, Rizzo roulette, but Superman be a set. Crib can be my pet, to my alligator to the vet. Whoa, Rizzo roulette, tie gang no pep. He locked in like barrettes, only Wells cop a whole set. Whoa, Rizzo roulette, you ain't seen nothing yet. For NFT, that's a check, and that check and that check and that check. Whoa. Black and white silhouette, Batman out of debt, Moogly money on the jet, whoa. You ain't seen nothing yet. For NFT, that's a check, and that check and that check and that check, whoa. Let's get it poppin' and I need the night of the marketplace shop, so we finna go shopping. I got a vote with a Rizzo and Todd, they go together like Batman and Robin. I run it up with my bromies, a squad, on me go crazy and nothing can stop it. Look at the charts, we beating them all, talking to Elon cause we on a rocket. And you know I got a secret red spider. 007 just caught me a glider. USS Enterprise, we going higher. They shut down the city so we took a diver. Got a new coupe, man, I ain't no rider.